I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, spilling everything online about something so raw and personal. But honestly, I need some perspective, maybe even some validation that I'm not losing my mind. It's been a week since I found out my wife, Emily, was cheating on me. No, not just with anyone, with Jake, the best friend I've ever had. Yeah, Jake. My brother's best friend. Someone I trusted implicitly. It all started subtly, or that's what I told myself at first. Little things, you know. Emily suddenly busy, late nights at work that stretched into mornings, her phone always face down as if the screen might burn her. I'd catch her whispering on the phone, her voice hushed. But I figured she's just stressing over her job, right? It's easy to ignore the warning signs when they're small. I mean, I wanted to believe she loved me, that she'd never betray me. We'd been through so much. Years of marriage, kids, plans for the future. One night I came home early from work, mood a little off, and I noticed Emily's phone was blinking with a new message at the breakfast table. I usually wouldn't pry, but something told me to check. I unlocked her phone, no passcode, just a gut feeling. My stomach clenched when I saw the message thread. It was Jake. Just casual, flirty stuff at first, missed you today, but then it turned explicit. I saw the words, the emojis, the plans to meet up, and a picture, her hand holding a glass of wine, her face lit with that secretive smile she knew I'd never see. My hands went cold, palms slick. I felt like the air was knocked out of me. I stared at her phone, stomach twisted. I didn't wake her, just quietly slipped out of the house trying to process what I'd seen. I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe I was overreacting, that I'd misunderstood. Next morning I did what I shouldn't have. I checked again, this time in her purse just to be sure. And there it was, a receipt from a hotel, a check-in for last night. The room was booked in her name, but I saw her handwriting, on the note she left on the fridge, saying she'd be out late for a work meeting. I felt my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The room, the message, the receipts. All painted a clear picture. She lied straight to my face. I didn't wake her up that morning. Instead, I sat in the living room trying to breathe, trying to keep it together. My mind kept circling around the betrayal, the image of her with Jake in my guest room, our sanctuary, turned into their secret hideaway. My stomach sank deeper with every passing second. I felt a strange mix of fury and confusion. How could she do this? After everything. After all the nights I stayed awake worrying, working late to give her a good life. I kept thinking about the look in her eyes when she'd say she loved me, about the plans we made. And now I knew those were just words, just illusions. She was with Jake, right there in the same room I'd cleaned, decorated, and thought of as a safe space. I kept replaying the scene in my mind. Her leaving, her sneaking off. The way Jake's face looked when I finally called him out. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to be smart. I needed evidence, something concrete, because I didn't want to be the guy who just shouted. Accusations without proof. The smell of her perfume, faint but lingering, still haunted me. I could still hear the faint hum of her voice on the phone, the way her eyes flicked away when I asked about her day. I felt the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. I thought about the years I spent building trust, the nights I stayed up worrying, and how she had just thrown it away for a moment of selfish pleasure. I never imagined I'd be here, wondering how I'd ever get past this. I had to plan my next move carefully, but honestly I already knew I'd find a way to make her pay for crossing that line. I stared at the ceiling that night, lying awake, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to scream, to break something, to make her feel as small as I felt. But I knew I had to stay composed. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about finding clarity, about figuring out what I was going to do next. I kept thinking about Jake's stupid, smug face when I finally confronted him. How could I have trusted him? How could Emily betray us like this? That's the thing about betrayal. You never see it coming until it hits you like a punch to the gut. I needed to take a step back and figure out what my move was going to be. I had evidence now, enough to cause chaos if I wanted, but I also knew I'd have to be smart about it. Because once I opened that door, there was no going back. And honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back to what we had. But I had one thing clear: I wouldn't let her get away with it. Not without a fight. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was clenched tight like I'd swallowed a stone. I kept replaying everything I'd seen. The messages, the hotel receipt, her guilty silence when I questioned her. I knew I couldn't just sit around and let this fester. If I was going to do something, it had to be quick, calculated, and above all, smart. I spent the day quietly gathering more evidence. I went through her phone again, digging into her folders and messages. I needed to be sure. She hadn't deleted anything. I found a few texts from yesterday, more flirtatious stuff. Her words made my skin crawl. She'd been planning this right from the start. I felt my fists clench. My stomach twisted and I had to take deep breaths trying to keep calm. I also reached out to Jake. I wanted to hear it from him directly, get some clarity. I played it cool, acting like I was just catching up. "Hey, Jake," I said, voice steady but cold. "Did you see Emily yesterday?" She seemed off. "Yeah," he replied, hesitating just a fraction too long. "She said she was working late, but I kind of figured she was with you." I pressed him. "Did she say anything about us, about the marriage?" He paused again, then admitted, "Not really. She said she was feeling trapped, like she needed a break, but I knew what she meant." "That wasn't enough." I pressed harder. "Did she tell you she loved you?" There was a long silence. Then he finally said, "Yeah, she did. And I told her I felt the same." I didn't think she was doing anything. Honestly, I kept my tone even, but inside I was boiling. How could she have kept this from me? How could she have lied all this time? I knew I had enough now to move forward. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. Later that day, I sat her down. I kept my voice calm but firm. "Emily, I know what's been going on." Her face went pale and her hands trembled. "I saw the messages, the hotel receipt. Don't even try to deny it." Her eyes darted around, searching for words. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I don't know why I did it. I don't want to lose everything." I felt my jaw tight. "A mistake? You think that's enough? You lied to me for months, right in my face. You betrayed me with Jake in our own guest room. How do you even look at me right now?" She broke down then, tears streaming down her face. "I was weak. I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear. I was lonely and Jake was there and I didn't think you'd find out." That didn't make it better, that made it worse. Because it showed she'd planned it, that her betrayal was calculated, not some moment of weakness. I had to act. I couldn't just let this go. I needed a plan, something to make her realize what she'd lost, what she'd thrown away. I didn't want to just walk away. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. My mind raced as I considered my options. I wasn't a violent man, but I was angry. If I was going to do this right, I had to be precise. I decided to stage a confrontation that would leave her speechless, something that would shake her to her core. I'd make sure she knew I had all the evidence, that I was in control. I wanted her to feel the shame, the guilt, something she deserved. That night I sat in the dark, thinking about the perfect way to do it. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that she couldn't hide from me anymore. I'd call her out, leave her no room for denial. I'd want her to feel trapped, just like she made me feel, but in a different way. I'd turn the tables, make her realize that her betrayal wasn't just a mistake, it was the end of us as we knew it. The plan was simple but effective. I'd pretend to be understanding, let her think I might forgive her, just enough to get her to let her guard down. Then I'd drop the bomb. I'd hand her all the evidence, watch her crumble. That's when I'd decide how much I was willing to forgive, or if I was ready to walk away for good. As I sat there, I could feel the anger simmering just below the surface. It was like a fire burning in my chest, spreading warmth and rage at the same time. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. Nothing worth fighting for ever was. But I was done being the naive husband, the one who looked the other way. No more. Tomorrow I would confront her, and when I did, I would do it with everything I had. I'd finally make her see that I wasn't a fool, that I wasn't going to be played anymore. Because sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about making sure they understand what they've lost. And I was just getting started. The next morning I woke up with a plan already forming in my mind. I knew I couldn't keep delaying this. Every hour I sat around, I felt the anger building inside me, twisting my stomach tighter. I had all the pieces now, the messages, the receipts, Jake's confession. There was no way I was going to let her walk away without facing what she'd done. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold rush of air fill my lungs. My palms were sweaty as I pulled out my phone. I needed to make sure everything was ready, every piece of evidence, every word I'd say. I wasn't going to give her a chance to deny or dodge. I wanted her cornered, vulnerable, because that's when people reveal their true selves. I texted her, "We need to talk. Now." No emojis, no fluff, just the cold truth. Within moments she responded, "What's wrong?" I didn't reply right away, just kept my finger hovering over the send button, feeling the weight of the moment. When she finally came into the living room, her face was pale, eyes slightly red from crying. She looked like she'd been physically beaten, or at least subdued by her own guilt. I kept my tone calm, but the steel beneath it was undeniable. "Sit down," I said, motioning to the couch. "We need to talk honestly." She sat trembling, and I watched her face carefully. "Emily, I know everything. About the messages, the hotel, Jake. I've had enough time to process it, and I want you to tell me what the hell is going on." My voice was steady, but I could feel my fists clenched at my sides, trying to keep myself from losing control. Looked down at her hands, then back up at me. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, voice trembling. "I made a terrible mistake. I was lonely and Jake was there, and I felt like I was losing myself. I never meant to hurt you, I swear." "No," I interrupted sharply. "You don't get to say mistake anymore. You lied to me for months. You betrayed me in our own house, in our guest room, the one place I thought we were safe. You're telling me it was just a moment of weakness, a mistake." My voice cracked a little, but I kept it steady. "That's bullshit." Her eyes filled with tears again. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't love him, I swear. It was just stupid. Something I regret every second. I thought I could fix it, that it would stay quiet, but it didn't." I shook my head. "You think I'm stupid? I've got the receipts, Emily. The messages Jake sent you, the hotel check-in. I even found your handwriting on the note on the fridge. You think I don't know what this is?" Her face crumpled at that, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please don't do this. I love you. I was just so lonely and I didn't think you'd understand. I didn't mean for it to get this far, I swear." I looked her straight in the eyes, feeling the rage simmering just beneath my skin. "You love me after this. After you used me like some kind of safety net. I've been your husband for years and you just threw me aside for some stupid, selfish fling. Do you even realize how much you've damaged us?" She looked away, sobbing now. "I never wanted to lose my family. I was stupid and I'm sorry. Please, I'll do anything to fix this." Her words bounced around in my head, but they didn't hit like they were supposed to. Sorry wasn't enough. I needed something else, something to make her understand the gravity of what she'd done. I knew I had to act to show her that this wasn't just a passing mistake. It was the end of everything. That's when I decided it was time to reveal my plan. I sat down beside her, still holding the evidence in my mind. I looked her straight in the eyes. "You want to fix this? Fine, but it's going to cost you. You're going to give me what I want. You're going to hand me the keys to the house and you're going to leave tonight. No arguments." She gasped, her eyes widening. "What? No, you can't be serious." "Oh, I am," I said, voice cold but controlled. "You betrayed me, and now I'm going to make sure you understand that there are consequences. I want you out of my house, and I want you to think about what you just threw away. You're going to leave your phone behind, your jewelry, everything, and you're not coming back until I say so." Her hands shook as she reached for her purse, apparently realizing she'd lost her last shred of control. "You're serious about this?" "Dead serious," I said. "You want to know how revenge feels? It's right here. You lied, you cheated, and now I'm taking back what's mine. You want a fresh start. You're going to have to earn it, and you're not doing that here anymore." She hesitated, then slowly reached into her purse, pulling out the house keys. Her face was a mixture of shame and defiance. As she handed them over, she looked like she was finally waking up to what she'd lost. I took the keys, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. As she stood and grabbed her coat, I made sure she knew this was the end. "You're leaving tonight. Don't come back. And don't bother asking for forgiveness. Some things can't be fixed after they break." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, and whispered, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt us like this." That's when I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. I handed her the keys and she left, vanishing down the driveway into the darkness. I stood there for a moment, watching her go, feeling the cold wind on my face. And in that moment, I knew I had finally taken control of what was mine. Sometimes, the only way to move forward is to cut out what's holding you back, even if it hurts like hell. The house felt eerily hollow after Emily left. The silence was deafening, and every creak of the floorboard sounded like a reminder of what had just happened. I stood in the living room, clutching the keys she had handed over, feeling a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. For years, I thought I was building a life with her, and now it all crumbled in a matter of hours. The anger that had simmered inside me was finally giving way to a deep, gnawing disappointment. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, tried to settle my nerves, but my mind refused to quiet down. I kept replaying her face, her tears, her trembling hands. I kept asking myself how I missed all the warning signs, how I let things get so far without noticing. The betrayal cut so deep, it felt like I'd been physically punched in the gut. My stomach churned as I took a long sip, trying to drown out the ache inside. That night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep. I had told her to leave, told her she couldn't come back, but the weight of everything still pressed down on me. I wondered if I'd done the right thing. People always say revenge isn't the answer, but I knew deep down I needed to see her hurt as much as I'd been hurt. Not in a violent way, but enough to make her realize what she had lost. The days that followed were a blur. I threw myself into cleaning out her closet, packing her things into boxes. Each item was a reminder of her lies, her perfume, the jewelry she abandoned, the clothes she left behind. I stacked everything neatly, sealing the boxes and labeling them Emily's things. It felt symbolic, like severing the last ties to her. I knew I'd never trust her again, and that was the hardest truth to swallow. Meanwhile, I kept the evidence. The messages, the receipts, the note. I didn't destroy anything. I wanted her to see that I had won in the end, that she couldn't slip away with her secrets. Every time I looked at that proof, my resolve hardened. I was done being naive, done pretending it was all innocent. My trust was shattered, and I was just beginning to understand how deep the damage went. One evening, I received a call from Jake. I hesitated before answering. "Hey," I said, voice flat. "Hey," he replied, sounding hesitant. "Look, I just wanted to say I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean for things to get this bad." I took a breath, feeling the weight of his words. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Jake. You betrayed me just as much as Emily did." "I know," he admitted quietly. "I was stupid. I thought she loved me, and I thought I loved her. I didn't see how much I'd ruin everything. I didn't know how to stop." I didn't say anything for a moment. Part of me still wanted to punch him through the phone, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. "You're lucky I don't want to make this more complicated," I finally said. "Stay away from her from now on. That's the best thing you can do for both of us." "Yeah," he said softly. "I get it, I really do." That night I sat alone again, staring at the flickering lamp. I felt exhausted, but also strangely lighter. I'd taken control of a situation I thought I never could. I'd cut out the betrayal, the lies, the fake smiles. It hurt like hell, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd trusted her, how I'd built my life around her, only to find out she'd been hiding a secret so deep it shattered everything. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I let it go on for so long? The truth was, I'd been blind, and now I was paying the price. I promised myself one thing: I wasn't going to let this define me. I'd rebuild, yeah, but I'd do it on my own terms. No more secrets, no more betrayal. I'd learn to trust again. But only when I was ready. Right now, I just needed time to breathe, to process what had happened. I looked around the house, feeling the emptiness echo through every room. It was a stark reminder of how fragile trust really is, and how easily it can be broken. But I also realized something else. I was stronger than I thought. I'd faced chaos and come out the other side. It wasn't pretty, but it was real. In the end, I knew I had to let go of her, to accept that some betrayals are beyond forgiveness. That doesn't mean I'm bitter or broken. It just means I'm learning to move on, slowly, painfully, but surely. And I'll do it without her. Tomorrow, I'll start the process of reclaiming my life. I'll change the locks, file the divorce papers, and finally close this chapter. Because no matter how deep the hurt, life moves forward. The only way out is through. The days turned into a week, and each morning I woke up feeling a little stronger, a little more in control. I had gone through everything: her clothes, her jewelry, the evidence, and packed up her things. The house was now an echo chamber of silence, every corner a reminder of what was lost. I kept the divorce papers on my desk, staring at them every night, weighing whether to sign or hold out hope for reconciliation that I knew was impossible. I spent hours thinking about the future, about how to rebuild my life from the ashes of her betrayal. I knew I couldn't stay in the house forever. Every inch seemed to whisper memories I didn't want to keep. I decided it was time to get out, to start fresh somewhere else. No attachments, no ghosts. One evening I was sitting on the porch, cigarette in hand, staring into the darkening sky when I heard footsteps approaching. It was her, Emily. I didn't expect her to come back, not after everything, but there she was, hesitant, clutching her coat tightly around her. "I didn't come here to argue," she started softly, voice trembling. I wanted to see you, to talk." I didn't move. I kept my eyes on the horizon. "There's nothing left to talk about," I said, voice even. "You made your choice. I made mine. The house, the marriage, it's over." She took a step closer. "Please, just listen. I know I messed up more than I ever thought I could, but I never stopped loving you. I was stupid, yes, but I want to fix this. If there's any way, any chance," I cut her off. "You had your chance. You threw it away. Don't come here expecting me to forgive you now. Not after what I found, not after you used me like I was nothing." My voice cracked, but I kept my tone firm. "You're not coming back, Emily. Not this time. You made that decision when you chose Jake over us." She looked like I'd punched her in the gut, her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was just lost. I thought I could fix it, that I could make it right. But I see now how much I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I really am." Her apology didn't change anything. I felt cold inside, like I'd been hollowed out by the betrayal. I looked at her, trying to feel something, anything besides anger. But all I saw was someone who'd torn apart the life I'd built, who'd broken my trust in ways I never thought possible. "You got what you wanted," I said quietly. "You got to walk away with your secrets, your lies, but I got to see the truth. And the truth is, I don't want you back, not now, not ever." I paused, watching her eyes shimmer with tears. "And I've decided to move on. I'm leaving this place and I'm going to start over, without you." She nodded, more to herself than to me. "I understand, I really do. I just want you to know I'm sorry for everything." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Goodbye, Emily." I turned away and started walking toward my car. I didn't look back, didn't want to see her cry or beg. I knew the pain she was feeling was her own fault. She made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Before I got into the car, I looked back at the house, silent and dark. It was time to leave behind what was broken. I'd spent too long holding onto the wreckage of a marriage that was never what I thought it was. I was done trying to fix what was beyond repair. That night I drove away from the house, leaving it behind. As I watched it shrink into the distance, I felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life. About realizing that sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away from what's hurting you. In the silence of that drive, I finally understood that trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. But moving forward, whatever that looked like, was the only way to find peace. And I was finally ready to find mine. The road ahead was uncertain, but I felt a strange lightness I hadn't experienced in years. Leaving everything behind, her, the house, the betrayal, wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I knew I'd never trust Emily again, not after what she did, and honestly, I didn't want to. Trust was like glass. Once shattered, it could never truly be put back together. And trying to do so would only invite more pain. I found a small apartment a few towns over, nothing fancy, just enough space to breathe and to start fresh. I didn't want to dwell on the past, but I knew I had to process it. Every night I'd sit on the little balcony, watching the stars, trying to piece together the lessons I'd learned. The biggest one: trust has to be earned, and I'd be damned if I let anyone take that from me again so easily. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was accepting that I was going to be okay without her. I'd invested so much hope, so much energy into what I thought was a secure life. When it all fell apart, I felt like I'd lost a part of myself. But gradually, I realized I hadn't lost everything. I'd only lost the illusion I'd been clinging to, that I could fix her, that I could save something that was already broken. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding my confidence. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, took long walks, and even started going to the gym again. Little things, but they helped. I learned that pain fades, sometimes slowly, but it does. and you can survive even the deepest wounds if you give yourself time and patience. One evening, I finally sat down to reflect on everything. I thought about the night I found the messages, the confrontation, the decision to leave. Every step, every emotion was burned into my memory. Yet amid all that pain, I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. I'd taken control of my life again, refusing to let betrayal define me. I was still standing, still fighting, even if it was just to find my own peace. Looking back, I realized that what I went through changed me. It sharpened my understanding of loyalty, of love, and of the importance of self-respect. I learned that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to cut ties before they poison everything. And that's exactly what I did. I cut her loose and I cut my losses. In a way, I feel grateful for the pain. It forced me to confront my own boundaries, my limits, and what I truly value. I now know I deserve honesty, respect, and fidelity, not just from others, but from myself. I won't settle for less anymore. I've learned to trust again, but on my own terms. Today, I stand here, finally at peace. I've handed over the keys to the house, filed the divorce papers, and sealed that chapter of my life. I've learned that moving on isn't about forgetting, but about accepting and choosing to rebuild. The scars will always be there, but they're reminders of how far I've come. And as I pack up the last of my belongings, I realize that sometimes the greatest act of strength is walking away. Not because you're weak, but because you're brave enough to say enough is enough. I walked away from betrayal, from darkness, into a future I'm finally ready to face. The past will always be part of me, but it no longer controls me. I've reclaimed my life piece by piece, and I am finally free.